Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for joining us for this first round of the webinar series for the World Energy Day celebrations. We are so honored to be here with you today. I would just like to invite my colleague, Kiri, to kick us off with this meeting, and then we can proceed to today's discussions.
Thank you, Linda. And hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to the first virtual energy professional roundtable. It's currently being brought to you by the World Energy Day Foundation. We are more than delighted to have you join us today, as we do appreciate you for finding time to plug into these value-adding sessions today, and an event that is among other the Bikaza activities in the run-up for the World Energy Day that is coming up in October. Before we even proceed on to today's session, and as we wait for others to join us, kindly do let us know where you are joining us from. The chat section. Are you joining us as an organization or individually? just let us know in the chat section if you don't mind. Give us your name and where you're joining us from, and we'll be glad to recognize you. My name is Mary Korir. I'm part of the WED Secretariat, joining you from Nairobi, Kenya. So that's brilliant. Erin Korir, thank you. Syokimau, Machakos County. You're so welcome. Vincent Silas, you're joining us from Nairobi. Karibu, welcome. Karen, thank you. Sabaki in Machakos. Hezron Eldoret. Hi, Christopher. Hi, Mercy from Nairobi. Hi, Brian. Even as we continue to put our locations, our names in the chat section, and even before we unpack the exciting topic and introduce the panel of speakers for our today's session, we do have an engagement. We do love the engagement from the audience, but we also value the order. And with that, I will quickly run us through some housekeeping rules that we kindly ask that we adhere to for the rest of the session. First, this session will be recorded, and our team will share a link where you can access the recording and other useful resources. We also ask that you mute your microphone unless you're being called upon to just to maintain order. We also ask you that you feel free to insert your names in your profile so that we can be able to properly address and acknowledge you. In case of questions, we do have a section for the Q&A. Also feel free to use the raise hand feature, the chats. We actually have a chat master who will be able to properly address all and acknowledge all the questions on the chat section. In case you have any questions, we do have that section. Kindly use that, and we hope that all your questions will be answered. At this juncture, I want to introduce to us the moderator for today. Our moderator for today's session, she is a lady that is so passionate about energy. She's a lady that actually advocates for energy efficiency in the renewable energy in Africa. And also she drives implementation of sustainable projects by exploring financing options, and also she serves as a secretary of the World Energy Day Foundation. Her name is Linda, and she also very passionate about the youth in energy, and she's played a very big role in empowering the youth in energy empowerment program, a program that is currently being run by Eenovators Limited. So I'll take this time to introduce you to Linda Manyala, the Secretariat of the World Energy Day Foundation Secretariat. Linda, kindly take it away.
Well, thanks, Mary. Thank you so much for the brief but detailed introduction. Yes, my name is Linda Manyala, and I'm very passionate about energy matters in East Africa and also in the African region. And I'm so proud to be part of the World Energy Day Secretariat to bring you a series of conversations that will lead us towards the World Energy Day Conference, which is held globally and annually in October. So thank you so much once again for the introduction. And I think before I even proceed to today's session and for us to unpack today's discussions, I would want us to just have a brief overview of the World Energy Day Foundation, what we are all about and what we intend to achieve for the energy sector in Africa. So the World Energy Day Foundation was founded in 2020, and the purpose and objective for the World Energy Day Foundation is to drive conversations and topics related to energy matters in Africa. So energy access, think about energy awareness, think about accessibility to energy, think about affordability of energy, and any topics that would require us to advocate for uptake of energy efficiency and also sustainability programs in Africa. That is what we are mandated to do. So we were founded in 2020 and we held our first webinar series then. This webinar series was a virtual series. It was very interesting because it was just post the COVID pandemic time. I think we all went through that globally. And we had a very well-attended event. The theme at that time was the future of Africa. And we were talking about innovation, efficiency, and also uptake of energy efficiency technologies within Africa. So we had a very good session and we had speakers from all over the world. We had about 20 speakers and we were able to unpack a lot of conversations regarding energy efficiency and also innovations that are coming up within Africa, the African region. In 2021, we had our second World Energy Day conference, also held in October, and we were able to take this to Kampala, Uganda. I've seen some of our members are joining us from Kampala, Uganda. So for the first time, we're able to unlock that market for the World Energy Day Foundation and the conference, and we were able to speak on topics related to energy sustainability in Africa. And the focus was on unlocking the food sustainability and also climate change and water equationability. So speaking about how we can drive the agri-food and agri-industries to take up more energy efficient solutions for either their farms or also their businesses, just to ensure that they are being more efficient in their production and also their processing. So it was quite a great event. Our entire team was able to go to Kampala. I think some of us came back having added some pounds. Kampala is quite generous with food, so it was a great event. And after that, we were able to move to the 2022 conference, which we held in Nairobi. Actually, it was held in Mombasa, Kenya, not Nairobi, but it was held in Kenya, in Mombasa. And the theme for that conference was empowering energy independence in Africa. So for these conversations, we were talking about enabling rural and urban renewable energy awareness and also access and affordability to energy in the region. So we had about 21 speakers and it was a hybrid event. So we were able to, for the first time, to hold it both virtually and physically. And it was quite interesting because some of our speakers joined us also from international and global countries, and it was quite a great conversation. For that event, we had amazing sponsors. We had the GIZ, which is the German corporation. It's a German federal agency that has focus in Africa, and the focus is mostly to look at how they can drive sustainability matters and also the sustainability agenda, including providing food security and also ensuring that processes are also run efficiently, and mostly just to focus on the sustainability for the entire region. And we were able to work with the East African Hub under the We for Food chapter, that is the Water and Energy for Food chapter. We also had Davis and Shatcliffe join us, and they were also able to exhibit some of their products during the event in Mombasa. And of course, we had the Kenya Climate Innovation Center. They've been doing a lot of financial mechanisms and funding climate and sustainability programs and projects within Africa. So you can also look them up in case you are looking for funding for some of your energy projects. And lastly, we had Eenovators Limited. Eenovators has been a key partner of the World Energy Day Foundation. It is an energy service company that is based here in Kenya, but it also has branches in East Africa and also South Africa. And they deal with energy training and energy consultancy, just to ensure that we are having conversations and also having awareness on a productive use of energy for buildings and also for transport and also for production. So it's been a key partner for the World Energy Day Foundation. So this year we've come back bigger and better. We are currently also moving into Tanzania. So I know we have a lot of we have a lot of Gen Zs in the room today because part of our theme is to do with youth programs, and the theme which we'll launch shortly is focused on youth initiatives and youth programs within Kenya and also East Africa. So a bombshell has entered the room. Tanzania, welcome so much. I'm sure some of us are here in the audience. So we look forward to having a great conference in October. This year's conference will be held in Kenya, so we'll be able to give you details of that as we progress. So thank you again so much for joining us. I know some of us have been joining some of our conferences in the past, and we are really lucky and honored to have you here today. So I would just like us to launch today. We're going to launch the World Energy Day theme for 2024. We had a soft launch where we had a brief press conference with some of our great media outlets, and it was held on 13th of August. So we did have a very brief soft launch, but today we are doing the most amazing and the most appropriate and adequate launch that we can have for this year's theme. So I welcome Karen to kindly show us on the screen the theme for the 2024 World Energy Day Conference. Drum rolls, please. I hope you're all excited. I can see the screen is coming up. Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you so much. So this year's theme is focused on youth initiatives and youth programs. So the title is Empowering Africa's Future, and we are focusing on youth-driven energy efficiency and industrial partnerships. So what we intend to do is to ensure that we are having discussions with industries on uptake of energy efficiency and renewable projects while empowering the youth. We know youth is an underrated resource in Africa and also globally. I know most of them have joined us today, and for us, the focus this year is to ensure that we shine a spotlight on youth initiatives and youth programs that are currently running, and empowering the youth to not only upskill themselves, but to also be readily placed for either entrepreneurship or employability. I think as we were all progressing towards the workforce or after graduating, some of us went through a phase we call tamaking in Kenya. For any other region that doesn't understand this is whereby you have to look for some kind of industrial placement in the workforce so that you can get some experience in the field that you have studied. So sometimes it's gruesome, sometimes it's long, sometimes it's you go when you have not been given any stipend or payment, but more often than not, it's very, very empowering to you as a young graduate who wants to learn more about the market. So we know unemployability in Africa is a real issue, and we intend to drive conversations this year surrounding this and how organizations and also individuals can come up and either sponsor a youth or also join in some of the conversations that are ongoing about youth programs and find a way to upskill and empower youth so they can be able to gain more experience and also empower their communities. So thank you so much, Karen, for that. And for this year, we are partnered with the Youth in Energy Empowerment Program, also called the YEEP. Karen is one of the coordinators that runs this program, which is really dear and close to her heart. It is a program that ensures that young graduates with technical skills from the university or even a technical program or college are able to get some experience for a duration of time and also be placed in different industries so that they can be able to gain practical experience and develop energy projects for these facilities. So we are very, very glad to be partnering with the YEEP program this year. And we intend to shine a spotlight on some of the activities that are ongoing. So that is a brief about the World Energy Day Foundation and some of the mandates that we conduct. Also, part of our program is to recognize and also award industry leaders and industry experts who are doing great work, and also professionals who have taken up courses that are driving such conversations within the region. So part of the World Energy Day conference is to award and recognize all these amazing people who are doing amazing work in the energy sector in Africa. So we will have a call for you to apply and also to nominate some of the people you know so that they can be recognized during the World Energy Day conference on 18th of October. And another item that we focus on is also youth projects. So we have what we call a youth innovation challenge that we run during the year, and we allow the youth to come and showcase some of their projects. And within the duration of the conference, we're able to recognize a winner, and this winner is able to get a network of people who can assist them to further develop their project or even get funding to drive the innovation forward. So those are just some of the amazing things that the World Energy Day Foundation does. But today our main focus is the webinar series. This is the first of 3 webinar series that we'll have. So the next webinar series will be in September. But for today, we have an amazing topic. And I see we are so many in the room. I think we had about 160 applications. And that means that there's a real need to understand the topic for today. And the discussion for today is brought to you by some of our amazing partners who are in the room. We have Equator Mobility that is driving a lot of conversations around commercial vehicles. These are the 3-wheelers and the 4-wheelers, and I'll be able to introduce them briefly. We also have Biliti Electric, which has been driving and advocating for a lot of policies regarding infrastructure for the EV sector, electric vehicle sector, and also driving conversations and awareness around this topic. We have UTU Cars also, which is also a leader in ensuring that all technicians' needs are met, and also that commercial vehicles are accessible, and also just demystifying the myths around the EV market and EV sector in Kenya. So we're happy to have them with us today. And I'll be able to introduce our speakers as we progress. And the last partner is Kiri EV, which is also a great advocate for policies and also advocate for youth programs and also an advocate for electronic vehicles uptake in Kenya and also in East Africa. So they will be able to share a little bit about what they do. And I would just like Karen to show us again the title for today's discussion, which is Energy in Transport, Exploring the EV Market in East Africa. So from today's conversation, I'm hoping that we can gain valuable insights from industry experts on the electronic vehicle market in East Africa. I would also like us to be able to pick out some contacts here and there if you see someone that you would want to connect with. It's also a forum to enable you to connect with professionals and companies that are driving these innovations in the energy sector in East Africa, and also just to learn about trends and what you can contribute towards driving this conversation further in the African region. So thank you so much, Karen. You can see those are our partners and also the topic for today. So without further ado, I would just like us to move into the first session, which would be for us to discuss the overview of the electronic vehicle market in East Africa. And with me, I have Isaiah Omondi. Isaiah Omondi is part of Biliti Electric, and he's been the head of operations for Biliti Electric Kenya, and also they have been expanding. So East Africa, he'll be able to give a brief about what they do. And he's been working in this industry for the last 5 years. So he has a lot of knowledge and experience on the EV market. And I would just like to call upon Isaiah. Mary, please, you can have a spotlight on him as well as a speaker.
Yes. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I hope I'm audible enough this morning. If you're not able to hear, you can raise your hands and we'll still be able to try and see how we can make that. But good morning, everybody. Welcome. My name is Isaiah Omondi. Yes, the head of operations, Biliti Electric Kenya. Biliti Electric is a global manufacturer of electric three-wheelers. In the developed countries, they call them e-trikes. Even in Asia, in Kenya, and in East Africa, we call them tuk-tuks or three-wheelers. In West Africa, we call them okada. So here in Kenya, we call them tuk-tuks. And so we are a manufacturer of electric three-wheeler. Currently, our mother factory is in Hyderabad, India, where we manufacture the vehicles. We have other offices, our headquarters being in California, and we also have offices in Europe and also in India, Hyderabad, where we manufacture the vehicle. We are also opening up in other continents, and here in Africa, this being a subsidiary, we opened up 3 years ago, where we were to introduce the three-wheelers. We had earlier come in by partnering with some of the players that we felt the vehicle was of good use. The three-wheelers we designed are purely for last mile delivery. And they have a cargo box behind that can carry up to half a ton of weight and parcel. So we were introducing that. We started working with SocoWatch during COVID. That's when majority, there was a lockdown. And so we introduced some of our vehicles in Uganda, Kampala, and they were able to work with SocoWatch in doing last mile delivery. During that period, we also felt that it is important to open up ourselves within the region, and we now set up office in Kenya, where we felt that we could also be able to begin the operations as well, looking forward to also grow in setting up assembly plants where we could be able to get the vehicles as CKD from India and begin also assembling them within Africa to necessitate the same growth. Those are the steps that we are currently also progressing with. And so we are currently in Kenya. We have vehicles that are on the road. When we came in, we worked with different logistic players. We worked with Jumia. We did a bit of test runs with them and also worked with them to try and introduce the vehicle on the market. We've also worked with other players where we've done several series of trial runs that were there. We've worked with MGAS, we've worked with Quatrix, we've also worked with, currently we are working with Amitrak, who are also using our vehicles in terms of also being able to do last mile deliveries within Nairobi. We are looking forward in growing also in other markets as well within East Central Africa.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Isaiah. And I see that with all that traction that you have gained within Kenya and East Africa, what would you say is the current state of the electrical vehicle sector in Africa? Do you feel that we have a chance to advance in terms of technology and also in terms of integrating renewable energy? How do you feel about this market?
My take is that we are quite optimistic because as much as we are relatively young, most of the companies that came within that started off were doing either things to do with retrofit. By that time, people like Chrome were doing retrofit. They were trying out. We have people like Kiri Motors, which came, and EcoBorder. These were players that had come earlier, and especially much of this traction now started getting more traction on EV during the time of lockdown and COVID, where we now started seeing a lot of companies rebranding and setting up. And so there's growth that we have gradually begun seeing from 2018. And now, if we look at even 2022, we started seeing a radical increase. And this year, there is an uptick. There are key areas that we feel that still needs to be worked on. And the process is quite slow. There are places where we are still in conversations of trying to unify ourselves, trying to find what we are all good at. within East Central Africa. During the time of COVID, we were able to see some countries like Rwanda, which were also setting up. We saw countries like Uganda, where they have Kiri Motors, Zembo, and also Border Works, who have recently introduced Go Border. We have in Tanzania, 2 years ago, we've now started seeing them this year becoming actually bold enough to also take the move into EVs, and they have started with three-wheelers. And we are anticipating this growth gradually and slowly. One of the key areas that still makes it more optimistic is that we are seeing two-wheelers are growing quite fast compared to the other types of EVs or electric vehicles that are there. But then we are also seeing some other countries where, like in Kenya today, we are able to see we have buses, Basico and Rome, who are also moving forward in building more buses. And so to us, that means there is potential enough within East Africa and even Africa at large. We are seeing also West Africa, as much as they are still also resuming to normalcy in some of the areas that maybe were affected politically. We are seeing places like Nigeria, Ghana, where they have already also given incentives and trying to also develop policies. The other, one of the key areas, maybe if I touch on policy, it's still a gray area in most of, in the continent and in most of the countries, but there are countries that are fully developed. Rwanda, one of it leading with good policies that actually encourage more investment in going green and also introducing more green mobility. We are also seeing Kenya, we have already worked on that. We are hoping that this year it would actually be able to take effect. Tanzania are working on theirs. Uganda is also doing the same, and calling upon even more investors to also come in, because we are seeing a lot of traction and transition in sensitizing. And also these conversations also make it strengthens that process of uptake. We're also looking at even scaling up and maybe having more investors coming in. We've seen people who have come in maybe from China who are interested investors and stakeholders and players in EV to actually introduce much of their products within Africa. And so to us, that shows, and Kenya has become the central point. Last year, it was a boost further when we had Africa Climate Summit. In the discussions, we were able to be given part, like Kenya, we have IMAC, which is part of trying to front and lobby much of the issues to do with EVs. So yes, there is an optimistic and optimistic move in growing, though it is one step at a time in looking at those areas, so that within that we are able to see the companies that are coming in are able to also get a market share in being able to also collaborate and work together to grow the space. Currently in Kenya, for example, we have almost over 20 or 30 companies going, and the number still keeps growing, of EV players or EV companies in all the segments, those who are coming in with charging, battery, assembly, and even those ones who are manufacturing maybe two-wheelers, three-wheelers that are coming, and the numbers are growing. Within those companies, they also have put commitment on the numbers that they feel that they can actually offer and introduce in the market, and also engaging with the market. We've seen optimistic and positive response in people now seeing the need to adopt and embrace electric vehicles.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. That's quite interesting. And I love the fact that we are now forming associations to even drive conversations around the uptake of EV vehicles and even the infrastructure. And with that, you said something very keen and very interesting, that we definitely require a lot of skilling up in the sector. And with us, we also have one of our speakers called Mr. Ratemo Mabea. He is part of the UTU Cars Africa company. And Ratemo Mabea is a dedicated advocate of a self-efficient Africa, focused on pioneering renewable energy projects to reduce costs and also create jobs. His mission has actually been to transform communities through sustainable practices, to foster a more resilient and prosperous Africa, and to also promote the conversations around the youth youth innovations, and youth access to upskilling. So I feel that at this point, I would like to invite him to speak more about what he's doing in the region, and more so, how can we harness the potential of the youth to drive awareness in this EV sector? What are some of the key things you feel we can adopt in the market that will allow the youth to upskill and even act as a resource within the sector? Welcome, Mr. Ratemo.
Hello, good morning. I hope everyone is doing great. My name is Ratemo Mabea. I'm the founder of Green Global Footprint Initiative, where we're looking long-term, deeply, strategically, climate change action, sustainability, and electric mobility. As well, I'm a finance officer at UTU Cars Africa, and we are pioneering electric mobility adoption in the country. I'm really thrilled and excited the conversation and the theme for this here, youth. And just to reference on what you talked early, that for a very long time, the youth have been neglected in these conversations. And I'm happy that at least you've brought us onto the table. And I want to just paraphrase something the president said sometimes back, that Africa for a very long time we've been on the menu. And yes, the youth, we've always also been on the menu for quite some time, but we are finding our feet and coming to the dining table and also be part of the conversation on transforming Africa. The moment of leadership is critical, and what often people misunderstand is that leadership is what often people misunderstand is leadership often goes to people who exercise the influence and take responsibility. And at Green Global Footprint Initiative, we are trying to have a conversation on building capacity and doing awareness, and getting people to understand the economic and environmental importance of electric vehicles, and what we can do to harness the potential of youth to drive awareness and adoption of electric vehicles is one of the very big conversations that we've had in the country, that is education and empowerment. Our education system has always been, tailoring us to be employees. We are not, we are not taught to be innovators and entrepreneurs. But having to identify that as a problem, the test is not whether we know what is not making us to succeed, but if we are willing and able to take responsibility and drive this innovation. And so part of the reason and the action that we can take as young people is remain teachable and be student of life, and learn from the people in the industry, do a lot of advocacy and ask to be in the position in the policy advocacy, and be part of innovation competitions.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that is, I think being a leader is something that is critical, and it's something that can actually be, not only be, you're not born with, but you can also learn. So having the young minds in this room and also in East Africa drive these conversations from the stage of leaving university is a critical thing. I know the EV market is very, very new to some of us, and some of us are still trying to figure out the in and workings of it. But where we can start is start from where you are and with the people around you. I'm sure from where we are based. We have seen some three-wheelers or even e-bikes that are electric. So having conversations around that and also visiting some of the organizations that are working towards driving this sector is really key. And I think I would just like us to now launch a poll. Karen, kindly launch a poll for our audience, just so we can see what we feel about the youth being involved in the EV sector. I think it's poll 1. I can see on the chat we have some visitors from India. I can see the USA. Hi, Shay. I can see Tanzania. You're most welcome. So this is the poll for today. Do you believe involving the youth in the electric vehicle or mobility projects is crucial for their success? Do you believe involving the youth in electric vehicle or mobility projects is crucial for their success? And I think this is for the success of the EV sector and the mobility sector, or the mobility projects that we are being involved in terms of the electric vehicle markets. So I think we can take that. It's a single choice, yes or no. And then Karen will just let us know the results. Okay, I think as we progress, Retemo, I had one more question, and it still involves youth empowerment for the EV sector. What are some of the strategies you think we can engage these young people in developing innovative solutions in the sector? Mostly tailored toward energy efficiency. What are some of these strategies you feel we can have with the youth?
Yeah, I would say we can organize hackathons, innovation challenges, and incubator programs that will encourage and help them design solutions that are real-world mobility problems. Partnership with university and tech hubs and industry players that can provide mentorship and upskilling and reskilling programs. Tomorrow we're having an event, it's a skill gap analysis that is going to inform approach and strategies on how we can identify potential bottlenecks and skill gaps that are in the e-mobility space, and build a talent pipeline and workforce that is going to support a mass transition to electric mobility. So, and another strategy that we can involve youth is community-based projects, and also offering internships and apprenticeship programs in these industry startups that we have currently. The problem with, just to make another reference to our education system, we've always been taught theoretical, approaches to some of these things. We do not have most of the young people, they don't have problem-solving skills. And so part of the projects that we're having is initiate an academia industry partnership that is going to do lots of project-based learning and internships that are going to help the current workforce in terms of upskilling and skilling, and also the students who are coming out of schools and universities to own problem-solving experiences.
Yes, and I think we have that event with us here. I think, Karen, you can just show a spotlight on that. I do believe it's a great event. If you're able to attend, it's at the University of Nairobi tomorrow. If you're able to attend, you would really gain a lot of knowledge and also network with a lot of people in the EV industry. It is meant to attract a lot of interest from East Africa. So a lot of conversations around this will be ongoing. So if you have time, kindly go to the University of Nairobi tomorrow, and you would be able to join Ratemo during this discussion. I can see the answers to the poll. So do you believe involving the youth in the electric vehicle or mobility project is crucial for their success? 93% have said yes, 7% have said no. I think because we have a majority of 93%, I would maybe want to hear from someone who said no, why you would feel that maybe the youth are not crucial for the success of the EV projects in the sector. We also had another question which will lead us to the next session. What are the most significant barriers to EV adoption in Africa and how can they be overcome? So we had a short answer here. I think Karen will be able to show that to us later. Okay, I would just like us to now move to the next session, which will also be speaking about industrial partnerships in the e-mobility sector. Part of the second part of that question on barriers will be answered during this session. So with me, I do have an amazing speaker who is going to take us through this session, and his name is Mr. Alex Mwanzo. He's the general manager at Equator Mobility, and he's been serving over 7 years of experience on the electrical vehicle landscape in Kenya. He specializes in design and also retrofits on lithium-ion battery technology. So we have a lot about storage there, and very passionate about driving this transition and conversations towards sustainable transportation. So he's literally dedicated his career towards this EV sector, and I'm sure we'll gain a lot of knowledge and experience from him. So welcome, Mr. Alex, to this session. Yes, maybe you can just give us a brief introduction to Equator Mobility as we move into the questions that I have for you today, focusing on how to have successful partnerships in the industry.
Yes, so as Linda said, I'm Alex Mwanzo. I run Equator Mobility. Equator Mobility is East Africa's first fully dedicated EV garage. And the reason for that is we do, our core business is actually leasing electric vehicles to corporates. So we do have a fleet of about 25,000 at the moment, and we're just about to double that by the end of the year. So one of the major issues we found out was we could not service our cars anywhere. So anytime you tell someone please service a Leaf or a Tesla for me, no one had answers, no one even knew where to start. Now, because of the expertise we've built over the years, because of the connections and the partnerships we have even in the field itself, we thought, why don't we start that ourselves? And that also opened up the possibility of one of the core questions that we usually got from clients was, if I buy the car, where do I service that vehicle? Now, I am an electrical engineer by profession. I just run operations at the moment. So I sort of know what is happening in the vehicles. In my background of 7 years, I'm actually ex-ROM, Opibus. So I did design for the electric bus. I did design for the electric border. I did design for the electric Land Cruiser. So I have been in depth inside that sort of ecosystem for a long time. I am from Aceleron, which used to deal with lithium batteries, second life. So in that whole ecosystem, I've been able to basically understand the vehicles, so to speak. Now, Equator Mobility is an open shop where anyone in EV can even come, not even to service their vehicle, just to ask questions, understand about the cars, see some of the vehicles, see some of the tech we have. Sometimes even our competitors come into the shop to service their vehicles and things like that. So that has basically opened up Equator Mobility as a space whereby anyone who is interested in the space can just come in and get answers. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for that introduction. And in terms of the partnerships, industrial partnerships that you have had, what would you say is the most fulfilling partnership that has literally driven your company towards a better understanding of the EV market and also in terms of the infrastructure? What do you feel is a partnership that is key for us to drive these conversations in the market?
Yes, sorry. So someone is saying my voice is not clear. Let me just swap them, please.
Yes, in terms of the partnerships that you have developed within the region, maybe you could pick up one of the partnerships that has been really key for Equator Mobility and you would say has been able to enable you to actually drive these conversations in the market. Are you able to hear me?
Sorry, someone has said my audio, right? So I'm just copying my audio.
Sorry, okay. Mary, kindly check on that.
Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes.
that's better.
Oh, perfect. Right. So one of the major partnerships we've obviously had is with Busigo. They also run a workshop for buses, and we have managed to cross-share some of the tech, some of the equipment, diagnosis equipment as well. And the reason for that is because we are a new field. Most of this equipment is either really expensive or unobtainable for most of us. So we thought, what if different people buy different sort of kits that all of us as an industry can use? So we have done something with Rome, we've done something with, I think we're also talking to Biliti to do something with them. We're doing something with Busigo. We're doing something also with EV charger because we didn't want to reinvent the wheel, right? So if someone has an ecosystem of charging stations, why do we need to set up charging stations in the same place? Why don't we just talk to them to be able to use the same ecosystem that they already have and create that sort of partnership and then grow? So one of the other issues we found out is if someone wants to drive to, say, Mombasa right now, if you are an ecosystem builder and you want to do something yourself, you have set up almost 10 charging stations along the way. However, there's a lot of EV players, even in Mombasa themselves, that already have charging stations. You don't need to do that. So when you partner, it just allows you to, for lack of better words, save some money to do better things as people concentrate on their core business. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah, I do feel like Busigo, I've seen Busigo doing a lot in the markets. So I feel like buses, there's a bit of uptake on buses and also the three-wheelers. So I think the four-wheelers is where we need to demystify some of the myths around the four-wheelers
Yes.
in terms of expenses, the patches. I think most of the players in the market feel that the cost may be too high, or they would not be able to drive a vehicle for a very long distance because they do not know where they would be able to swap a battery or even charge it due to the infrastructure. Do you feel like this is a hindrance to uptake of these vehicles in the market, and do you feel like this myth is justified?
Yes and no. So the yes is majority of people are looking at the whole ecosystem running, right? So if you want to set up a charging station, people want to do it themselves instead of going to someone like Shell, Rubis, Total, and talking to them and just setting up a charging station at any petrol station. This is because they already have the real estate to support charging stations, right? So if you're going to Mombasa, there's more than 200 fuel stations along the road, right? So why do you need to start talking to different landlords to set up a charging station at a hotel that no one knows about, instead of talking to someone like Shell and say, just add a small banner under your fuel station saying there's an EV charger here? Because there's that safety net that comes with parking at a petrol station, right? There is all the facilities you need. There are washrooms, there's a restaurant, there's Wi-Fi, there's all these things. So when you're driving down, you just go inside a petrol station and charge. Now, the yes bit of it is the cars are still a bit more expensive, and that is because of scalability, right? There is not a lot of EVs outside there that can come to Kenya, right? So almost 80% of the vehicles that come to Kenya come from Japan. And of these cars, most of them are secondhand. But Japan as a country does not have a lot of EV brands that can come into Kenya, right? So it's mostly limited to Nissan Leafs, a few Teslas, and things like that. Now, if you open the same market for someone like Rwanda who drive on the left, now all of a sudden you open up the whole of China, which has like 200 million EVs in their country. So just the source of these cars alone is one of the current hindrances, because we drive on the right, and the right-hand market is only limited to Japan, UK, and Australia. So that on its own is one of the challenges. The other challenge as well is Kenya as a country, we import over 90% of the cars secondhand. So these vehicles have already lived in Japan for the last 8 years before they're coming in. Unfortunately, there aren't that many brands, especially EVs, that have been alive in Japan that long to come into Kenya, again, save for Nissan Leafs. So that basically constricts the amount of growth that the four-wheelers can come in. So a difference between a four-wheeler and a bus is the bus as a structure, as an engineering structure, is just a ladder and everything put on top. So you can easily swap it between left and right as simple as you'd like. But when it comes to four-wheelers, a left-hand drive car and a right-hand drive, they are so different in structurally, just outside, where someone sits when they're driving. So there's the suspension geometry, there's the weight distribution, there is even the construction itself. So sometimes even the chassis are different between a left-hand drive car and a right-hand drive. However, we're seeing a space whereby Japan has now become alive in saying a lot of manufacturers are doing EVs. So what should we do? So someone like Toyota has invested in BYD to bring in more EV cars in Japan. So technically, any car that will get to Japan will most likely get into Kenya. We're seeing Sifao in Kenya starting a BYD shop actually in Nyayo Stadium that will be launched in the next 1 month. We are seeing Moja EV as well going to China and say, can you make for us a batch of 50 cars in right-hand drive that is coming to Kenya? We're seeing Haval also launching an electric vehicle today in Kenya as well. So it has started to pick interest and it's growing, whereby most Kenyans are saying, if it's charging, anywhere you can charge your car, anywhere you can charge your laptop, you can charge your car, so I can charge at home. So that ticks that box. But for now, the car will be mostly a secondary car, or rather a primary car for your A to B, Monday to Friday, and then they'll have a secondary car for your Mombasa trips before the charging infrastructure comes on board. But once we see anywhere about 1,000 EVs in Kenya, then most guys, even petrol stations, even hotels, your Javas, your CJs will start saying, there's 1,000 EVs, there's an opportunity to actually start charging the cars, because the opportunity of charging itself is so vast, whereby if someone has to sit somewhere for an hour to wait for the car to charge, or 30 minutes, that means they have to sit somewhere, they have to, have to drink coffee, they have to have a meal and things like that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I also feel like some of these myths can be demystified just by having these partnerships with
Correct.
some of these petrol stations that we have, and also ensuring that we can install charging ports even at the convenience of someone's house, because that is a possibility. And with that, we're talking about the technical and also the innovations that the technology and also the innovations that are in the market currently. And with us, we have Christopher Mara, who's the CEO and founder of Kiri EV. So Chris is committed to advancing clean energy in Africa, mostly focused on affordable electric mobility solutions like electric motorcycles and motorbikes. I think we have a lot of youngings in the crowd. This would be an area that you would be keen to listen to. So some of the solutions that they're focused on are also ensuring that they're affordable electric motor vehicles in the region. So I would like to welcome Chris Mara. I hope he's with us now.
Yeah, I'm here. Good morning, everyone. Morning, Linda. Thank you for the introduction. As Linda said, my name is Christopher Mara, and I'm the founder of Kiri EV, and we are an electric mobility company based in Nairobi, Kenya. We started in 2020. We started off with off-the-shelf bikes from China and India, but we quickly realized that those bikes weren't fit for the market. So for the last 3 years, we've been working hard to make sure that we can build a bike that is fit for the Kenyan and African market at large. End of last year, we launched into the market, and now we're scaling up. We do a lot of the design here locally, and then we partner with local fabricators and also international ones to be able to produce and manufacture our bike. And then we ship it in as CKD and we assemble here. A lot of the issues, a lot of the speakers have already talked about, have affected us in one way or another. And we've been very, active in terms of trying to push regulations to favor the sector. We have also been keen on employing youth, especially interns, to help the sector, diversify the skills and also upgrade the skills of our youth to enable the sector to be able to grow quickly and disseminate this information. Thanks.
Yes, thanks, Chris. In terms of electric bikes, would you just kindly give us a brief on how you charge these bikes and how long I think the battery would last? Just give us a rundown of maybe a daily routine using an electric bike in Kenya.
Yeah, so typically in the sector, there's two distinct business models that work. So there's the battery swapping, where you as a rider, owner of the motorcycle, you buy the motorcycle, but you don't own the battery. The battery is owned by the company. And what happens is these companies set up swapping stations, and you can come and swap your battery within 3 to 5 minutes, and you pay a small fee for it, and you're able to go within 3 to 5 minutes. Then there's the other business model where a lot of companies will provide you a charger, so similar to that of your cell phone. When you buy a cell phone, you come to the charger, and this will be able to help you charge your battery. So if you have a charge point, your typical socket at home, you can plug it in and it will charge. Typical battery, on average from all the players, will probably take you about 2.5 hours to 2 hours 45 to charge, depending on the speed of the charger. So the same thing with phones, you can get like a fast charger and you can get a slow charger. So if you have a fast charger, it should take you about 2 hours. If you have a slow charger, about 2.5 to 2:45. With a full charge, most batteries will give you between 60 to 70 kilometers. Some might go up to 80, but it also depends on how you as a person ride. So if you are very tough on the throttle, and you're carrying a lot of heavily loaded, then the range will reduce slightly. But typically, you're looking at about 60 to 70 kilometers. If you look at, the target audience, most companies are targeting border riders or delivery companies, people who work in the delivery sector, like Uber Eats, Glovo, that kind of thing. Most of them will typically do between 100 to 150 kilometers a day. So with one battery, you cover about half the distance that these guys require. And most companies now have bikes that are able to accommodate 2 batteries. So you're able to cover comfortably your daily distance within the charge. But where we're driving the switch to electric is because the cost of charging one battery to full is most batteries are about 2 kilowatt hours. So that's about a kilowatt hour. Domestic use is about 25 shillings. So you're looking at about 50 bob to charge a battery. And that 50 bob will give you 70 kilometers. Whereas a liter of petrol right now goes for about 180 and will give you about, on most petrol motorcycles, about 30 kilometers on average, even on the higher side, maybe 35. So it's a significant saving.
Yeah, okay. That's interesting. I think I've seen some of the e-bikes on the roads, and I think I've seen a bicycle. I think they call them fat. They have a
fat tire, fat boy.
Yes, fat boy. I think I've seen a lot of those in Kenya, so I feel like most of the youth are taking that up. So I believe having the right charging infrastructure, even for homes, would be really key for us to drive more of these conversations and also have uptake. And in terms of the potential markets for uptake of these electric bikes, do you feel like it's moving slowly? Do you feel like it's moving fast? And what are some of the key challenges you have faced as a business?
So, the technology is still at its infancy, but it's progressing very quickly, and it's maturing very quickly. One of the, I'd say, the early obstacles was from the fact that a lot of the bikes that were being imported off the shelf from China, India, and other regions, mostly from the Far East region. And the user case is very different, whereas if you look at like in China or in India, most of the motorcycles are used for personal commuting or delivery. The road conditions are much smoother. Maybe India might be similar to us, but in the larger cities, roads are smooth. And the scooter was what is more popular, whereas here we like the motorcycle, the scrambler type. So when those were initially came in, they weren't fit for purpose. So a lot of the companies had to go back to the drawing board to rework the bikes. So you saw an initial, buzz in the industry, and then it went quiet as a lot of companies went back to the drawing board, kind of, okay, let's figure out the right product for the market. But now that a lot of companies are coming out of their R&D and they're starting to, get a product that customers are happy with, they like, and recommending to other of their colleagues, you're now starting to see an uptick. That's why in Nairobi, especially, you've seen, in the last, between August last year and August this year, the number of EVs has probably gone from about 100 motorcycles on the road to well over 2,000. And that is being replicated across the region. Of course, different markets have different nuances. In Kenya, we've seen a lot of companies really focusing on building a bike that's fit for the Kenyan and African market. Whereas, in places like Ethiopia, there's been a real drive and a real support from the government, which has seen the number of EVs increase, even if a lot of them are still imports. Same thing with Tanzania, where you've seen, because of lower taxes, there's been a proliferation of a lot of bikes coming in. So, markets like Tanzania and Ethiopia for now have a lot more bikes. But we're going to see Kenya quickly catching up in terms of the volume of electric bikes on the vehicle on the road. And other markets like Rwanda has been very supportive to the startups that have been in that sector, really making sure that they provide tax breaks, they provide land for swapping stations. And this has really seen a lot of startups gravitate then and really and thrive. But if you look at Africa as a whole, in East Africa, a lot of the key drivers for adopting electric mobility across two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers is the high cost of fuel. A lot of East African countries are not oil-producing countries. So we pay some of the highest prices for fuel, in the world. So the need to switch to electric mobility is high. If you look at, other regions, maybe the economics of driving to e-mobility may not be as high. But, in Nigeria, we're starting to see the government recently removed subsidies on fuel. So the fuel price jumped. So the case for going electric is being made there. If you look at, other regions in Southern Africa, the same thing is happening. Fuel prices are going up, the cost of living is going up, and, electric mobility provides an avenue to drastically reduce these costs. And from a national policy or an African policy, we should be looking to, save as much foreign exchange from going out of our countries. And one of the ways to do this is reduce our oil imports.
Yeah, I also agree with that. And having said that, I would just like to bring us back to Isaiah to speak a little bit about the policies that we have seen. I know Chris has spoken about this, having some kind of incentives and also regulating the energy costs in Africa has been really slow. So what are some of these regulations or policies that are currently being discussed that you feel are quite key for us to plug into and also to push for us to ensure that this uptake for the EV market?
Majorly, one of the things that informs the policies or the guidelines to run the sector is especially the area of components, the availability of them being also supplied in being able to make the sector more robust and efficient in terms of, and that thing that is being made, if it is a motor that is locally being manufactured or it has been manufactured from wherever, can it be understood by the market when it is put in that vehicle, whether it is a two-wheeler or a three-wheeler or a four-wheeler. If, for example, we are talking about charging, do we understand that in relation to the service providers like Kenya Power? Are they able to understand that the power that is actually being used to charge the battery is that it is something that is quite economical, and that with it, because around the policy and why we really need them is that the mass is still having a bit of their stereotypes reserves in how they think about the electric vehicles. So these are some of the things that have been driving the policy that we have. And currently, when we look at, for example, from the part of having standards and safety from KEPS, we've done remarkably so much in that almost all the standards pertaining safety, the type of product that will now be coming into the country meets the expected standards, being informed by us so that we do not have substandard products coming into the country. With it also, it informs those who we are collaborating with, people who are working out with. Here we have, for example, the founder or the CEO of Vatai. So with it, we can inform him, this is what is needed in the market, and how we can work with them in making sure that they also understand some of the components or some of the products that are going to be used in the market, while we are also scaling up within the market in terms of building capacity. How do we train our local people to also see some of the other components, and how do we collaborate? We have companies currently that are also taking part through Kenya Association of Manufacturers. Through the policy, it is to also inform them that we need certain components that are similar. It's not that electric vehicle should be seen as an alien, but it can be, it should be seen that it is just a transition from an internal combustion. There are components that look quite similar. If it is the rim, for example, it is not that it is different with that of an internal combustion engine. And if then we are removing the engine and placing the motor, it should be easily be understood. So in manufacturing, what are some of the guidelines and the policies frameworks that will spearhead and encourage even the locals to come in and be part of that initiative or conversation in setting up maybe some of the local assemblies and working with the same technology to develop something that is actually market fit within the region. We are also having other institutions that are also coming in, especially on issues to do with the SGDs, that have also come in to spearhead and support, and even through chambers of commerce to discuss the market at large in seeing the need of attracting investors and maybe setting conducive environment by informing the government and even the political goodwill to see the need of introducing this in the process of also developing the economy of within certain areas, certain regions within East Central Africa. And so that's why the policy and in those areas we find very, very important in us pushing this conversation of electric vehicle. It allows us now to see that with it, then we are able within the local to empower many and see the need of also making sure that even the future as we move forward with the campaign of trying to conserve the environment, reducing carbon emissions. And from last year's conversation in Africa Climate Summit, it was seen that Africa does not really emit much of the carbon emissions, but they have more of carbon credits which can be audited. Some of these initiatives that we are taking also within those policies allows most of the companies that are there and also other institutions that want to be part of the EV sector. There is the banks, we have the institutions of higher learning, we have the environment, we have manufacturing, almost all this being networked together in order for us to also see us being part of making those decisions on how our carbon credits are important in bringing in more investments to actually improve our our ecosystem and also the sector as a whole.
Okay, thank you so much, Isaiah. Excuse me. So I think the other item I wanted us to look at is the second poll, which will inform this next session. And for the audience, we have something special for you today, so don't leave quite yet. We have a brief Q&A session, but we also have a good surprise for you towards the end of this discussion. So Karen, kindly run the second poll.
Linda, I saw people answered the second poll. Do you want to run the results?
Yes,
Or
okay,
run the
please
poll
run
again.
Just run the results.
Okay.
The question was on what we view as the significant barriers to EV adoption in Africa and how can they be overcome. So I think it gave an option for a short answer. I'm not sure if everyone answered, but we should be able to get a good view of what the audience thinks. In the meantime, we can also put our website on the chat. Mary, in case you want to link up with the World Energy Day Foundation, in case you want to support one of the activities that is ongoing, we do have the award ceremony coming up in October. We also have the conference, which will be on 18th of October in Nairobi. And we also have the Youth Innovation Challenge. So if you would want to support in any way, or you'd want to partner in some of the webinar series that are upcoming, and you are part of a youth program or youth project or even youth initiative in East Africa, kindly just reach out to us. Our website is on the chat box. We will also share the details for all our speakers so you can engage with them. I know we may not be able to answer all questions here, so I will share all the details of our speakers and you can be able to engage with them after this session. So in terms of the barriers, we have a few answers. Karen, I think you'd have to scroll for me. I am unable to scroll the screen. So what are the barriers? What do you feel are the significant barriers to adoption of EV in Africa? So we see there's a cost of acquisition and supporting infrastructure, which we have spoken about. Charging infrastructure coming up again. High price, and I presume this is a high price of energy, and also fewer charging stations. We have investment, cost, and leadership. Leadership, that's a great area that Ratemo spoke about. So I think we do need to have more initiatives to drive the EV sector. And these youth-led initiatives are the best because youth is an untapped resource. So having the youth placed in different areas, speaking about different components of the EV market, whether it's regulation, whether it's the infrastructure, whether it's policies, whether it's the technology, I feel like that would be a key thing. And having some courses towards this would be really great. I know some of our speakers also have training that they offer for their, sorry, Karen, I think I can't scroll. Yes, some of our speakers also do training initiatives for the youth. So that is a great area that we can look at. We also have tax policies and unavailability of raw materials. I think we were able to speak about assembly. And we've seen that most of the parts are manufactured in different countries and we only assemble in Kenya. And for East Africa, it's the same. So I feel like that is an untapped market. So in terms of the markets, I will just go back to Chris Mara. What do you feel are some of the opportunities that investors can look at in terms of driving the EV market?
Sorry, I was on mute. So there's a lot of opportunities, and it really depends on what sector investors are looking at and what their risk appetite is. When the sector started taking off, a lot of people wanted to do everything, but vertically integrated companies. So people were doing the assembly, people were doing the both assembly of the bikes and the batteries. People were doing both the assembly of charging infrastructure. There was the financing. So there's different segments along the entire value chain. You can go upstream and you be a manufacturer and a supplier of the bikes, a supplier and manufacturer of the charging infrastructure. And then, the next step, there's, actually assembling and supplying the bikes and selling them. So, the brand that's the face of the bike. There's the brand in the face of the charging. Then there's the spare parts. That's a bit that maybe will be a little bit slow to take off, but once it's 1,000, 2,000, 500,000 bikes on the road, there's going to be need for someone to be selling spare parts. There's going to be need for someone to service the bikes. There's going to be an after sales market. There's going to be there's insurance. There's going to be someone who's need to fix the bikes that have had accidents. So there's a lot. It just depends where you want to place yourself in the value chain. Some sectors will require more investment than others. So, setting up an assembly plant will obviously have a lot of investment needed up front, whereas also financing the riders, the borders also needs quite an investment. So it's really picking as an investor which bit you think is, well, one, where your expertise is, and the bit where you think is most lucrative for you. This will vary because some countries across the East African region and across the African region will have more incentives for manufacturing. Kenya has a very well-developed ecosystem when it comes to financing, especially border financing. People understand the pay-as-you-go model very well. So it's very easy to jump into that sector if you're well capitalized to do that. Kenya has a lot of incentives on assembly, so a lot of tax breaks. So there's a good sector there. Battery assembly, we're starting to see a lot of more people starting to gain interest in this sector because the government is also starting to realize, look, this is an area that will grow. And if we go down the route of battery electric vehicles, we're going to need some sort of local assembly. So those are areas where there's and incentives are coming up. EPRA has done regulations that are now aimed to guiding the sector. But there's also the raw material processing, mining. Kenya has discovered a bit of raw rare earth materials, but a lot of that will be across maybe in Congo. Someone needs to mine this, extract it, transport it to process it and refine it into lithium that can be made into batteries. So there's a lot of segments, a lot of sectors. It's just picking which sector you think will grow first, or maybe delaying your investment a little bit until maybe there's a lot of bikes and then you can set up spare parts and servicing shops. But I think the entire sector has a lot of opportunity. There's probably going to be more growth in the two-wheeler, three-wheeler sector than in the four-wheeler sector, just because buying a brand new Nissan Leaf is the same as buying a second-hand Prado. And a lot of people probably want the prestige that comes with a Prado than the savings that come with a Nissan Leaf. But in the public sector, so four-wheelers, so buses, there's a lot of opportunity there as well, because both governments and matatu operators across the sector also want those savings. Yeah.
That's a lot of opportunities. I think any investors or enthusiasts who are interested in this market could also reach out to you and see areas of collaboration, areas that you can work together, even as you look at the sector for e-bikes. Alex, I think I would ask you to pick up the same question. What are some of the opportunities you feel that our investors or even enthusiasts in this market could profit from? I hope Alex is still with us.
Yes, I am. I think the majority of where investors should look out for, I think one is just the capacity building itself. Because I think, and maybe Chris can also shed some light in this. One of the major issues guys in the scene are facing is just there's a lot of guys that are in the sector, but there are not a lot of guys coming into the sector. And I obviously understand that because it's a new sector, but there is a lot of mismatch between guys leaving school and guys who are actually doing the ecosystem itself. And that on its own creates its own set of challenges, because when you're bringing in more guys, you sort of need to train them from scratch and things like that. Some people I've done this before have managed to tap into like unis, colleges, even some technical schools, bringing guys to show them around. But I don't think that's enough for the amount of boom that electric mobility has. So in a case whereby Chris has to deploy like 1,000 bikes tomorrow or in the next 1 year, there will be that gap of skills. So I think there has to be an investment, quote unquote, into people who are doing that. And majority, the way I'd put it is, let's invest in people who are actually doing that in Kenya. If someone like Chris is actually doing the design in Kenya, that's where the investment should go, to actually build the capacity to do more of that in Kenya, version 2, beta, alpha, all these things. And we can all partner as an industry to start, curriculum development and saying a motor should look like this, but how can you make it better? A battery should look like this. What happens in a second life application and things like that? Because money to run a business, you can always fundraise for that. But now, once the business is on its feet, what happens? If you have to move from 10 bikes to 1,000 bikes, what happens? Where's the support? How do we cross match between what we are building and what's already there? So I think there's a very big gap in terms of investment in just the capacity itself. Yeah.
I think
Thank you.
let me support Alex on that. There's a huge skills gap. And where we've seen the gap is a lot of graduates come out, they have electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, and you come and they can't even use simple CAD software, engineering software. And then you as a company have to train them not only on how to do something they should have learned in university, but also train them on how to run your, how to build an electric bike. And this comes with a lot of cost, a lot of when you're learning something new, obviously there's going to be some mistakes done in the process of your work. And this usually comes at an expense to the company. We've seen trainees or people who come in with TVET experience, they have some sort of industry experience, are usually a lot more better trained and are able to catch up with work a lot quicker. And that's why we've been trying to train interns, even if they don't stay with us, at least we're sending that pool of knowledge out there. But also a lot of companies don't want to invest in this because, I invest in, like Alex said, I can find money to buy, I can find money to build a company and to invest in a company. But, the moment you train someone and someone comes and poaches them for a better job, you're left high and dry, and then you're having to train again. So it's a gap that needs to be filled, so that you can see the industry grow faster over the next couple of years.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. I feel like that is really on point, and also with the messaging to the investors. We do have some of our partners or partners also with Biliti Africa that are within the group. I see Sunil is here. Sunil, would you want to just say a quick hi?
Hi, I'm Sunil Bhatnagar from New Delhi, India, and we are making electric trucks of heavy duty in 55-ton category. These are based on lithium iron phosphate batteries. We have our own lithium iron phosphate battery plant also, for the assembly plant. And these trucks are going in mining industry, construction industry, ports, and wherever heavy loads are involved, because these trucks are very efficient. Operating cost is very low. It is just 30% when you compare with the ICE vehicle. So that is the plus point here, why it runs. And the payback is very fast because you have very high margins on per kilometer. So that is the thing. We are doing it for last 3 years in India, and it is picking up very nicely. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sunil. And thank you for also the work that you're doing in the region. We hope to also see some of your products pick up here. And yeah, I'm sure our speakers and also some of the companies that are here on EV will be able to, yeah, to pick that and pick your contact from here. We also have Kevin from China. Kevin, kindly just say a quick hello.
Yeah. Hi, Linda.
Hello.
You can hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Yeah.
you. Please
This is
proceed.
Kevin, CEO of YEEP Mobility, also founder of Vaca Group. So we're a professional charger and DCC supplier in the 15 years history. So I already see a lot of familiar faces in the group. So Sunil, and also like Chris, Isaiah. So many of my good friends. I enjoyed my stay in Kenya, Rwanda, and Uganda in July. So a meeting, I also do their boost in the KICC. So being welcoming like more than 500 different entrepreneurs and people from East Africa. So we look forward to see how we can contribute to the WED group. So, and also the how can facilitate the new energies, especially the EV two-wheeler size in terms of the powertrain, charger infrastructure. So actually we are the majority charger suppliers for majority of the players in East Africa. So they are using our charging infrastructures since we are like more affordability and also being verified in globally. So looking forward to meeting you again in and also welcome to the Canton Fire. So we have a booth in H14. So from D38 to D40. So we are launching 5 new products, including the new scooters for the Europe and also Southeast Asia, and also to another e-motorcycle built for Africa. So look forward to see you there. Guangzhou Canton Fire, October 16 to 19. Thank you. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, we look forward to also meeting you. I know we do have some events happening in Kenya that you will also be joining as we proceed with the year. So it's a pleasure to also learn about your products and also to meet you. I think their contacts are in the chat box. I can see them there. So you can just lift that if you're interested in the products that they offer, and also for us to continue driving these conversations as we go towards the October conference. So I would just like Karen to put up the flyer for tomorrow's event, where actually all of our speakers will be attending, and just for the audience to be able to plug into that in case they want to attend. Also, as I'm looking at the chat box for some questions, I can take maybe 2 questions from yes, that's it. Thank you. I think it's moved. Yes, thank you. So this is the event happening tomorrow at the University of Nairobi. So if you have time, kindly join our speakers. It will be a very engaging session, and you'll be able to also interact with industry players and stakeholders and also academicians there. So kindly, if you have time, you can just take a quick screenshot and attend this meeting. I see there's a hand raised, so we can take 2 questions from the audience and also 2 from the chat as we move to the promise I gave you of unveiling something special for you. So John Singo, I see your hand is raised. Kindly just unmute and ask a question.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for organizing this. My name is John Singo, Chief Revenue Officer of EV Charger and Director of Partnerships at African NEV. When you hear Chris and Alex talk about skills development, that is a very big gap. What we are seeing, even if you're going to develop a curriculum, sorry, and mine is not a question, mine is a comment. Yeah, when you talk about curriculum development, if you look at how curriculum has been developed in the past in Kenya, you find that we agree that this is what we're going to teach for the next 10, 20 years. But that becomes a bit difficult when you're doing it with a new emerging industry like e-mobility, whereby maybe in 5 years' time, the chemistry for the batteries might not be lithium ion, might be solid state, might be something else. So apart from just being a chance and an opportunity to be able to develop the quote-unquote curriculum, it would be an opportunity for us to even, I know it's a bit of an ambitious goal, but be able to change how we do curriculum training. In Germany, they have something called a mainframe. A framework. So what happens is that you are told these are the things that you need to learn. And as technology is actually advancing, you change. That's point number one. And then point number two, there has been, there is a gap in terms of what industry and what the universities are actually producing. It would be keen to, and this just goes to changing how it is that we are taught. Chris made a great point in terms of the people at the TVET level come more ready to be able to learn. That is how it actually should be. Africa Nev is one of the guys that did a technical training, and our technical training was purely focused on hands-on training. So we took apart a Nissan Leaf and then put it back together. And we thought that that would be a much better way for people to be able to learn, as opposed to, you show guys slides, this is how it looks like, but if you're there, you actually take apart the vehicle, you see this is the problem, this is what happens, you become much better. And the hope is that we can do more and more programs like that, because as Chris and Alex have said, it's a shortage that is definitely coming. So we need to be able to prepare. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, John. I think you can put also your contacts on the chat box. I'm sure there are so many people who would feel like they would want to collaborate or also speak to you about this. And I do know that some of our speakers also have courses, and maybe one or two of them can mention some of the courses that are available to any technicians in the room or any enthusiasts who would want to take up these opportunities in the EV market. Maybe Alex, if you know some, and if you have some, you could just let us know as we move into picking up another question on the chat box. Alex or Chris, any availability of some of these technical courses?
There are some that are paid, but I think the best place, so for four-wheelers, the best place to start is obviously John's place. I think they have something coming up next week. John probably can mention about that. They're just the best place locally that you can be hands-on in terms of tech and four-wheelers. The other ones are mostly on YouTube and online courses, but whatever you learn from John would be invaluable to how much you'll basically go to the industry like the whole way.
I think for anyone looking to learn, like Alex has pretty much covered it. There's John and probably Alex himself are probably the best place to start, especially for four-wheelers. For two-wheelers, I would say try get an internship at one of like the companies in the space. Most of them would be happy to take you through, even if it's a 3 to 6 months training course, so that you can learn about the bikes, learn about what they do. Periodically we also take in interns for three months at a time and train them up. But also look out, there's a lot of programs, a lot of companies like GIZ, Siemens that usually have training courses or sponsored training courses, usually at 1 or 2 3-day events throughout the year at various times of the year. So just also anyone who's interested or keen, just be on the lookout for such. And some of these are usually free courses for 2-3 days.
Okay, thank you so much, Chris. Thank you so much, Alex. I see one question from Shem Churchill, who is asking which is a more viable business model for e-motorcycles in Kenya right now, running a fleet or outright sales? I think, Chris, this is for you, but also Alex can also jump in.
So we've done both. Yeah, it really depends on what your choice of headache is, because they're both completely different businesses and different completely different businesses. So for fleet, it's fleet is more of a repeat business. You find your client, you give them the bikes, you sign a contract, and basically you have to manage the cost between what they're paying you per day per bike, and what it's costing you to service. With a good e-mobility bike, or even a good petrol bike, you will, if you can manage that properly and you can really, you have your systems of your procedures of checking on who's riding the bike, what damages, that kind of system is good, you will be able to make some good money. And then now your issue is, how do I get my client to take, to grow their fleet from 5 bikes to 10 bikes? How can I bag a client like G4S who has, thousands of bikes on the road? That's your headache. And you have your good supplier, and all you do is, when I have more clients, I go and buy more bikes. But you have to know that the asset will last 2-3 years before you need to replace it. And you don't have to go through the whole setup of setting up a manufacturing plant. You just need somewhere to store the bikes when and they're not being used. For selling, there's a whole different game, because you have to have the stock, so the cash up front to buy the stock. You have to, it's not a repeat customer business. If a customer comes to buy another bike, it's probably after 2-3 years after their first bike has, finished end of life of their first bike, or they've sold out one and they want a new one. So you're always constantly looking for new customers, new markets, have to be on top of the trends, have to onboard finances. There's a lot that comes with it. So it really just depends what's your cup of tea. Both of them have money to make in it, but I'd say with right now with leasing, it's probably a more consistent income stream, because if I have 10 bikes on the road this month, this is how much I'm gonna make, and this contract is lasting 2 years. So you're guaranteed that. Whereas with selling, I can sell 20 bikes this month, next month I sell 5, the other month I sell 10. It's really how much effort you do on the sales drive. Yeah.
Okay, yes, thank you so much for that. I also see one of our the youth asking for an internship opportunity. I think you can just take some of the contacts for the companies here and also our speakers and reach out to them. All the contacts have now been put in the chat, Rogers. You can reach out to any of the speakers or the companies here, and also reach out to Karen on the Youth in Energy Empowerment Program. We can see what to do in the next cohort. So you do not feel alone. The industry is big, and there are many opportunities that we can assist you as a young person to move forward in your career. I'll take one last question from Harold as we move to Isaiah to finish with the last section of this discussion. Isaiah, kindly mute. Sorry. So Harold is asking, how do business models compare for four-wheelers, sedan, SUVs, compared to trucks, which have larger size batteries and longer charging? I think Alex can take this. I think Mr. Ratemo would have also answered this, but I see he's gone away to prepare for tomorrow's expo. So Alex, kindly take this.
Sorry, just repeat the question.
How do business models compare for four-wheelers, sedan, I think against SUVs compared to trucks, which have larger size and longer charging?
Four-wheelers is a different ballgame, right? So just some numbers. 2 out of 3 cars on the road today are financed by someone. 3 out of 3 cars are second-hand from Japan. And then your main competition is probably a car that someone can sell for like $1 million, right? So think about a logistic van that you'd ship to Kenya for about 3-4 million. Someone for 500,000. So in terms of business model, just like Chris has said, it just depends what type of headache you want, right? But the good thing is there are corporates that are willing, to take the leap. And, I want an EV sustainability index, your Coca-Colas, all these guys. But there is that constant notion in your head that whatever you're competing for, someone can get it for like that cheap, right? So an example is someone can rent a Pro Box for the whole month for 50,000. That's almost border territory. But so, and then you're looking at something whereby carpets just for one car is anything about 30K USD. So for you to have a considerable fleet, you're talking of almost $500,000 in funding. So that's almost 60, 70, 80 million shillings. And then you're also in an ecosystem whereby you really need to be careful, because if something happens to the vehicle, you need to service it yourself. There's no local support. There's nowhere you'll have to go. So you basically need to build the whole ecosystem yourself. So in terms of business model for four-wheelers, it's a bit chaotic, because a lot of four-wheelers as a business it revolves around the residual value of the vehicle, right? EVs in general, no one knows what they will be in the next 4 or 5 years, right? So the batteries are changing, all the cars coming in, they're already at 8 years old. EVs have a battery lifespan of about 15 years. So by the time you're bringing in the vehicle, you're already starting at half. You don't know how they'll be driven, you don't know where to charge. So that in a sense limits how much you can grow, also limits how much you can fundraise, also limits how many people can actually fund you, even how many banks can even give you the loans to sell the cars to. Because one of the things, if you go to even KCB, NCBA, all these guys, they'll ask you, so you want me to finance your vehicle for the next 4 years? How will the battery look like in the next 4 years? No one has an answer. So that in its sense just limits how much you can do.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. I hope, Harold, the question has been answered. I would just like to quickly invite Karen to speak about the youth program. YEEP. YEEP is one of our partners for this year's World Energy Day conference. We said that the theme is empowering Africa's future, and we are looking at youth-driven energy efficiency and industrial partnerships and placements. So fostering the uptake of energy efficiency and renewable projects for industries is really key. And I think it's important for us to just hear a little bit more about YEEP and what YEEP has been doing, and then we can wind up with the special session I mentioned earlier. Karen?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Linda. Am I audible?
Very, yes.
Okay, so it's not afternoon yet, so good morning, good afternoon, or good evening from wherever you're joining from. My name is Karen Turanira, and I also sit in the World Energy Day Foundation Secretariat, and I'm privileged to also coordinate YEEP. YEEP in full is the Youth in Energy Empowerment Program, and it's a program that we run for the youth in Africa. We have started with East Africa, but we hope to expand to the rest of Africa in the coming years. And why we are introducing YEEP here in this platform, where we've had amazing discussions around the EV and where we are headed and what challenges we're facing, is because youth are key, of course, in driving all this. And YEEP in full is the Youth in Energy Empowerment Program, as I said. And where we are plugging in is because we are partners in the World Energy Day conference for this year, where the theme is empowering Africa's youth to drive industrial partnerships and regional sustainability by fostering energy efficiency and developing multi-sector conservation projects. So we are trying to empower the youth to drive the kind of change that we want to see. Yeah, so YEEP has been around for a while. We had this dream during the COVID year, and the following year in 2021, we did the launch. And what inspired us to launch YEEP was just the desire to empower our young people. We had been receiving applications just like what we have seen from one of us in the chat section, Rogers, who's requesting for an internship. And there are a lot of these youth out there requesting for internship opportunities so that they can kind of embark or get guidance to grow their career in the right direction. And this is where we began. We tried empowering these youth, but it was only on a short scale, 2 or 3, because that's what we were able to take at that moment. But now through YEEP, we can empower a lot of them at once. And the journey began with a launch in 2021, and we took off the first cohort, which was thankfully funded by GIZ through the Water and Energy for Food program. And during that year, we had a project dubbed Building ESCO Models for Promotion of Food Security through Water and Energy Management. And we had the youth driving this, and the outcome was very, very impressive. We only had 10 from Kenya. And when we saw how successful it was, we decided to expand our reach through cohort 2, which now commenced in 2022. And for that cohort, we took in 35 young people from Kenya and Uganda. And the theme for that year was empowering energy independence in Africa and enabling rural and urban renewable energy awareness, access, and affordability. So these also did an amazing job. And we saw that we still had a lot of applications even during that cohort. And we wanted to empower more. So we launched cohort 3, which we are currently running. And this, we call it Scaling to New Heights. We had a dream of taking in 100 young people from Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania for this cohort, but we ended up training 77 young people. Can I hear drum rolls? 77 young people, that's a whole team that is going to run the change we want to see. So we empowered the 77 and we trained them. We are happy to have completed the first phase, which entailed theoretical training for a period of 3 months. And now we have 45 who have taken their exams. They have passed very well, and they are ready to move to the second phase of this program in the third cohort. So what we are calling out for is partnerships with organizations that feel that can take in 1 or 2 people from this group of amazing young professionals who want to do amazing things in their career, just to place them to run the organizations and assist them in the initiative of sustainability, energy efficiency, and the journey towards attaining or moving towards renewable energy. Also this year, we were able to incorporate EV in the curriculum that we have used to train them for the first phase, which shows that this is where I guess all the conversations are going in Africa. EV, clean energy, we are all advocating for the kind of change we want to see together. So I'm here as a voice for the young people and also as key partners in the World Energy Day conference for this year. And mine is just to ask for support. We are looking, of course, for how to support these people even as they transition to the host facilities. So financing and also organizations that can partner with us to provide internship opportunities for them. Yeah, so in a nutshell, that is who YEEP is. That is what we have been able to do so far and also where we are going. So Linda, I think that's all from me. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. That's amazing for you to run this program, at your own cost without funding, without even costing it to 77 trainees is amazing. And we know that they will all get placement. And part of this is to ensure that we develop energy projects for these facilities. So I know some of our partners are here. I can see Leonard from Browns. Hi, Leonard. And some of them have been supporting this YEEP program. So kindly, if you're an organization that is seeking trained youth, reach out to Karen. Her contacts are also in the chat box, and you can be able to place one of these interns in your facility. So I just moved to the final section, which I'm sure you will all love. It's unboxing or unveiling a three-wheeler. Isaiah is ready to take this up. So I will just lead us to that, and then we can be able to close. I know we are a little bit time-bound, but I ask you to just spare 10 minutes, and we can at least see how a three-wheeler is and how it looks and even the components, and we can be able to close today's discussion. Thank you so much. Ruth, I can see you. I can see Isaiah. Please proceed. Isaiah, we don't have sound. We can't hear. I think you are muted.
Sure. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in, the audience, the speakers, and even the guests. I see more the guests that I have, my colleagues in the sector of EV. You see that also in the energy sector, there is a lot of queries of how we can therefore now collaborate together and take this conversation forward of actually also improving the sector and working together in order for us to address the key issues that we've also seen in how we should be able to fit ourselves or position ourselves in being able to make the EV sector move forward. I will just run you through quickly what Linda had for you. Behind me is one of my vehicle. It's an electric three-wheeler. We call it Biliti Taskman. The one that you see behind you here, we removed the box. So the box is this one. It's a cargo type of tuk-tuk. So this is the box that is always put on top of this bed. So the one that you see behind you here is an open bed where we have the box. So you can also put a different type of cargo box behind based on customizing. So in this case, it is a kind of a closed box that we put behind here for last mile delivery. I saw a question there where somebody was asking why most of the companies are focusing on last mile. We are focusing so much. When we started off, most of the companies, number one, key variables that were affecting EV is that we didn't have charging infrastructure. And Alex had mentioned nowhere to charge their vehicles. It's like that. And so that's why it was seen that those vehicles that have shorter range, it was easy to manage. And now we are having conversations moving forward of collaborating together with other players, setting up more of the charging infrastructure. We've seen John there. He's actually moving around where we have the different chargers that would actually meet maybe four-wheelers and also the other type of different vehicles in the EV, that then we can now engage more in also going long range with the different vehicles to be produced in the market. So those conversations are also going on, but initially it started this way so that with time, as we keep growing, even those small vehicles, the two-wheelers, they also are now moving into other towns, because now this is now not a Nairobi conversation alone. We have Mombasa, we have Kisumu, we have Eldoret and other towns within, and also other cities in their respective countries to try and also experience the EV. So I'll just go directly to this vehicle. This is a three-wheeler. It is an electric three-wheeler. The white box that you see here is our Here we can swap the battery, the lithium-ion battery. It is one big battery pack of 159 Ah. That is, this battery will charge 110 kilometers at a single charge. It carries half a ton. The vehicle can carry half a ton of cargo uphill, going downhill. We just continue moving from the battery. We have a blue component here that is a controller. This is a controller that you can see here. Next to the controller, from the controller, we have a motor. This is the motor drive that we are using. And from the motor, we also have, this is the gearbox. This gearbox has 4 gear wheels. Below it is the differential, or what we call the axle, that now propels the 2 wheels that is able to make the wheels move forward. So that is a simple design of this 3-wheeler that we have. Can go into the cockpit. So here we have this being the steering, this is the throttle. So this is the throttle. We have the handbrake. This is the handbrake, the normal handbrake that you find also in the other type of tuk-tuks or 3-wheelers. This is an hydraulic brake system. So this is the brake pedal, which is an hydraulic brake. It's an hydraulic brake pedal that we also are using here. So basically, that's the simple design of this vehicle. And so even here, we are currently also engaging with NITA. We had conversations on the skill gap that is already there in the market. So we also train this. We just had a basic course with the YEEP or the youth to also engage them in knowing what typically an electric vehicle is. And also with the speakers, we are also conversing to see further on how we would also engage and incorporate more of those courses and also do more of a deep dive. And so more of that we'll also be discussing tomorrow in the with one of our speakers in UON tomorrow, to also engage more. So this is also something that is ongoing. And so even here at Eenovators, we are also trying to make sure we upscale also in certain key areas, especially on also addressing things to do with the charging infrastructure and the battery, so that with that becomes much more of a conversation, because we have this battery, or the lithium-ion battery, being a conversation within the energy sector. Recently, we've seen EPRA coming in strongly to support EV in terms of issues to do with battery, and also to make sure that they are also going to be used not only for driving the vehicles, because when this battery runs after some time after the usage or the life cycle that it has run, it can also be used for domestic use in maybe using with solar, the solar systems that are there domestically to actually serve maybe when you're working in your house or even in your home. So it's still efficient enough, and those are still an ongoing conversation. And that's why seeing these collaborations of us coming together and having this webinar is just to start off that conversation, and also to attract the youth and tell them that these are some of the opportunities that you now can consider as you come in, while you're looking for interns to specialize, and with it, then you will be able to also grow the same sector. Thank you so much, guys. Welcome again.
Okay, thank you so much, Isaiah. I apologize for the background noise. But I hope that you are able to at least hear and see something. We will be able to share a brief on this, just a brief clip, as we share today's recording and also the speakers' messages and their email addresses. So we will share that via our WhatsApp webcast broadcast, and also on email. For all those who registered, you'll be able to get this recording. I think, again, I thank you all for that. Maybe I can take one last final comment from the audience, anyone with a burning comment or question. I see some of our speakers need to also leave to prepare for tomorrow's event. Okay, I think we are all good. Again, thank you so much for joining today's discussion. I have been your moderator, Linda Manyala. I'm part of the World Energy Day Secretariat and also one of the coordinators for the YEEP program. I thank you for taking time today to join us. And again, we do have our next webinar coming up in September. And you can see on the screen, it's going to be on September 20th from 10 a.m. And it's going to be about the youth initiative that you're currently running. So Youth in Energy Unveiling, we will speak about YEEP, debunk some of the activities that have been ongoing, and also have some of our sponsors and also facilities that have partnered with us join in. We'll also have some of the youth team joining us, so they'll be able to give their testimonials and also experience so far in the program from previous cohorts and also the current cohort. So again, thank you so much, and I hope to see you in the next webinar series in September. We will have some music playing in the background a little bit so you can pick up the comments or anything that you require from the chat. And at the comment section, you can see the email addresses of our speakers and also the companies that have joined us today. I thank our speakers. I thank you, Isaiah Omondi from Biliti Electric, for your valuable time. Thank you so much, Ratemo Mabea from UTU Cars. You have been quite valuable to this conversation, and I'm sure part of it will lead to a lot of collaboration. Thank you also, Chris Mara, founder and CEO of Kiri EV, and Alex Mwanzo, who also is the general manager at Equator Mobility. Thank you so much for partnering with us for this event. I hope you had a great time and you have learned something, and we hope to see you in the next webinar series. Karen, you can, I think, play some music as the audience picks some of the contacts from the chat box. I think we'll have 5 minutes, 12:15, we can close. Karen? Thank you, Marcy Chebet. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Bule. Thank you, Zoe. Oh.